Hi there, welcome to another FPL take on Monday afternoon ahead of game week 24. Waiting for Manchester City to play tonight to see how Haaland and Foden do. You can find me on Twitter at Ginger Assassin or at FPL Takes. So what I'm going to do on this video is quickly run through the players who are currently on my watch list. You can see there's 9 of them. There are a few players I'll talk about who aren't on that list who I'm not really interested in, and I'll give the reasons for that. On the left you can see my points for this week. I normally would post my team for next week, but essentially, as you can see the state of my bench, it's the same team. In that team, there's a few players I'm not a big fan of. Estepinian's starting to upset me a little bit. Obviously, Lascelles and Taylors are no good to me. And Salah, well, I held on to him in the hope he'd be back in time for game week 24. Unless there's some really surprising news at this stage, I think Salah's going to go this week. And I'll talk about who I'm likely to bring in for him there. So where to start? Let's start with the keepers, I think. I've got 2 keepers on the list here, and I've got 2 playing goalkeepers as well. So really, the reason I have Kaminski and Becker on the list is it's a chance to take care of some double game week defensive cover and to take part in the double game week 25 without jeopardizing a spot in my team. Because the problem a lot of people will face now is if they bring in a Luton Liverpool player, then they'll have them for 25, but they won't have that player for 26. Of course, if you bring in a goalie and you have another playing goalie, you don't face that problem. So to look at them individually, I think Becker's a good bet because I'm pretty sure he's going to start both double game week games and he's going to start 24 as well. So if you're getting on Liverpool players or indeed City players, now is the time, because 24 is a great fixture for both of them, and also they have the double in 25. So Manchester City are home to Everton ahead of their double, and Liverpool have Burnley. You want to get in on the action there as soon as possible, I think. And if you can guarantee a start for a player in 24, such as KDB, I think there's not too much can go wrong in 25 once he gets at least one start. So Becker is a safe route into the Liverpool defence. However, he is expensive, and he's maybe not a player that I want to stick with if I'm going to run long before I wildcard. But I think he's a good bet. Trent Alexander-Arnold isn't on the list. He's just a little bit too expensive for me. I sold him for Estepinian a few weeks ago, and I think one of the things that's factored into his high price is that he's locked and nailed, but we're not so sure about that anymore with the emergence of Connor Bradley. We're still not sure what the state of Trent's fitness is. He came off a little bit early yesterday, so I won't be going there, but I think if you had Trent, you just hold on to him and hope he gets 2 starts out of 3. Maybe he'll get 3 starts. Kaminski, the Luton keeper, he's a very interesting one. Probably not a move I'd make this week, but definitely one I'll be looking at in 25. So there's a lot of pros to Kaminski. He's in a good price range to compete with Areola and Dubravka. He has the double coming up in 25. You can bench him in 26, and possibly he'll have a double between 26 and 29. That's not certain, but apparently the people who calculate the probabilities are reasonably confident it can happen. When you add that to the fact that he could have a fixture in 29, when a lot of people, well, when everybody's going to really be looking for starters, that's a good prospect. The reason he could have a game in 29 is because Luton's fixture is against Nottingham Forest that week. Luton play City in the next round of the Cup. Forest play Manchester United if they win their game tonight. So there's a very high chance that game gets called off. I think when you've got Kaminski, you've got a double in 25, potential double a few weeks after that, and a game in 29, it begins to look really attractive. And I think it's very likely I'll go there. And I'm not sure who I'll sell out at Dubravka or Areola, but I'm not too worried about that. I'll figure it out. So when talking about Kaminski, I think a lot of the points I made there can apply to Doughty in defence. Doughty's been racking up the assists. I think he's got 7. Let me just check that. I think he's got 7 across the season. He got another at the weekend. He's on 72 points. He's 4.5 million. Yeah, 7 assists. He's got a goal. So he's good value going forward. But my problem is I've got Paro and two non-playing defenders. So if I bring in another player who doesn't play in 25 in defence, such as Virgil or Doughty, then I've really backed myself into a corner. And this is very much why I prefer the option of a goalkeeper transfer. Mentioned Virgil there. I think if you have the money but you don't really want to go to Trent, I think Virgil's a good pick. Most likely going to play 2 or 3 of the next 3, and that's what you want. However, there's risk there, and again, you've got a problem in 26. The third defender I have on the watch list there is Kyle Walker. A figure of controversy over the last couple of weeks. Let's see if he lines out tonight. We can assume the reasons that he missed out last week. We can guess, but we don't know. Maybe it was due to the fact that he appeared on the front page of a red top a few days prior. Maybe it was tactical, and we don't know. Maybe the newspaper thing's a red herring. But we'll see tonight. But he was so good for minutes before he missed out recently that you'd have to think he's good for minutes in the double. And if I don't get Kevin De Bruyne, I think there's a good chance I'll just chance it on Walker. It's a good price. Let's see how he does tonight. So in terms of rating the keepers, I think Kaminski is probably the one I'm most likely to go for. And in terms of defensive cover, I might not do anything, or I might pick a defender who's not on that list to play a more long-term game and avoid 25. But Walker, I think, is a good chance depending on what I do elsewhere. So then moving into midfield, I've got 3 players here, and everything I say here is kind of couched in the fact that I have Salah on the bench. So the easy move for me here is Salah to De Bruyne. It's easy in one respect. It's not easy in another respect because that means I have to make a tough benching decision. But I think a lot of people are doing that recently, and at the moment, maybe I'd bench Watkins, maybe not. I'd have to see how I feel on Saturday. But I think if I got to Saturday morning and there was confidence that De Bruyne was starting the game against Everton, I think Salah to De Bruyne is very attractive, and then that rules out Walker. And given I'm not too interested in Doughty or Virgil, that kind of makes me more likely to do a keeper move in 25. So I think it's all there for De Bruyne. A double. He's got a good game this week. He's not too expensive, especially given my situation. We've seen what he did 2 weeks ago when he came on as a sub. He got an assist last week, so I really want to get him, but I'll need to know he's starting 24. If he's not starting 24, I can reevaluate in 25 and maybe get him then. I think Jota is one that's going to be in a lot of people's minds. I would also like to get him, but I don't think Jota is nailed to get 3 starts out of the next 3. I think maybe he's not got the legs for it. There might be some preservation of Jota for the cup final. We'll see. I think he's a great option for certain people. Certain people who have, maybe Bowen or an injured Gordon. Definitely Jota is a great pick there, and I'd have no doubts about bringing him in if your squad was aligned that way. Given I don't really need to raise the money from Salah, De Bruyne is fine. He'll give me about 2 million. I don't really need to go as low as Jota, so he's probably second for me, ahead of a fit and starting Everton, De Bruyne. Garnacho's on that watch list, which might seem a little, Captain Hindsight, but he went on the watch list yesterday, and that was when I was looking at maybe liquidating Salah, getting a lot of money and playing a longer term game, because Garnacho's going to be a great pick over the next while. His minutes are rock solid for months now. When Ten Hag plays in the favoured way, which is maybe the counter attack, he's at the sharp end. They look quite vibrant yesterday, so I think a lot of people are going to have Garnacho in the next few weeks. I don't think he's good an option as Palmer, but he's a similar concept. He's very cheap. You can have him in your squad. Like, you could get Palmer when he's about 5 million, bring him in. He's a good bench option. He can start when you need him. So I think it's worth keeping an eye on him. I won't get him this week, but he can really be a useful player for people going forward. So in terms of my preferences in midfield, I think it's De Bruyne, Jota for the double game week. That leads me to Darwin. Darwin is a divisive figure in FPL and in real football. Take a breath before I start talking about Darwin. I brought Darwin in the game week 8 wildcard. He was good to own sometimes. He was very frustrating to own other times, but we knew it would be like that. I sold him when Manchester City played Sheffield United, and I regretted doing it immediately, and at all points since I've regretted it. However, because of the haul last week, Alvarez came out 4 points up. So I think I made a really bad decision there, and it came up good. In terms of Darwin as an FPL asset, I absolutely love him. I don't really talk about stats much on this pod because, you know, there's loads of guys who do it and they do it so well that you're better off watching them. But his stats are amazing always. I have had him several times while he's been in the Premier League, and I think I'd love to get him again. I feel there's a decent chance he can get 3 starts over the next 3 games. Liverpool's attack needs him, particularly without Salah, and like everyone can see the Newcastle game, the game last week, just insanity. The amount of chances he gets, the shots he takes, he shoots on sight. He's strong, he's confident, I think, at the moment. So I'd like to get him, but this leads to 2 issues. Number 1, who do I sell? And number 2, he causes a problem in 25, 26 for me, because again, I'm looking to have players in 26. So I think it will take everything I have throughout this week not to get Darwin in. It's what I feel like I want to do, and I think it's quite likely I'll do it. But that would require me to downgrade Salah to De Bruyne. If I get De Bruyne and I get Darwin, I need to sell a good asset, i.e. one of Watkins or Solanke, and I need to bench somebody. So it could lead to a lot of pain. In terms of who I'd sell out of Watkins and Solanke, I covered in my last video my respective thoughts on them. I sold Alvarez for Haaland last week. I said at the time I would sell Solanke before Watkins. I think that stands. I would still do so. But what you need to watch out for Solanke is, as I mentioned with Luton, there could be a double game week announcement at some point. So you really need to keep your eyes on that. So yeah, that's the watch list I have here. I think there are other guys that aren't on it that if you're going to ignore the doubles you can get. I think Trippier looks like a good bet now, and loads of other players. And one thing that we often do at this time of year is kind of we cut off our nose to spite our face, and we look at the good we forget the good single game week options and trip over the double guys who end up just having 1 start in a double game week, and probably from season to season it's a lesson we never learn. But double game weeks are so much fun. I tend to get involved in them and just enjoy what's going on. So those are my thoughts early in the week. I put out a call for a couple of questions there on the FPL Takes Twitter. Got a couple back. The first one is from Wasim. Is it too late to buy Richarlison or focus on double game week players only? Yeah, I mean, that's the thing I just mentioned. I don't think it's too late to buy Richarlison, but I just think it's a bad time to get him. And if he didn't have the blank in 26, I'd say, yeah, maybe you can get him. But you're getting him now. He's 2 games, he's got a blank. So maybe you wait until after he's blanked and you get him back in around when Villa play Palace. Sorry, when Spurs play Palace. I think he's a great long-term shout. He's in the Darwin mold, in that people make a little bit of fun of him, a bit of a figure of fun. They shouldn't be. These are good players, and like they get high volumes of chances, and there's no reason not to have Richarlison. But maybe, I know it's tough when he's just scored 15 points, but maybe I'd hold back for 2 or 3 weeks. Also, Wasim's asked, if Foden is benched, would you sell for Richarlison or Jota? No, I wouldn't. I think if he's benched, it makes him more likely to maybe get a start next week. But that wasn't the case last season when he serially got benched. And then, yeah, who are the top double game week picks in midfield? I think everyone knows this at this stage. De Bruyne, Diogo, I think they're the ones that I'd be looking at. There's probably some left field picks you could make. You could make an evaluation. Doku, Bernardo. If you like these guys, you could go for them. Luis Diaz is there. Seems to be in the team every time, and maybe there's some certain work ethic and industry and so on that's involved in his play that Klopp likes. But I think for both those teams, Jota and De Bruyne are just such standout picks. Like, they're guys who can get 15 points in any game. So I think they're the top picks. Then the only other question was from Alex Ball. Those of us that sold TAA, that includes me, should we buy him back or go for the dollar but more secure and cheaper Van Dijk? I personally wouldn't get him back given the state of play with Connor Bradley and his fitness. I think VVD is a good pick if you can handle the fallout in 26. So I wouldn't be against that. I think also, as I said, Alison's a good pick. With Kanate getting sent off yesterday, I think we become a little bit less sure of what's going to happen against Burnley. Maybe the defence isn't going to be quite so strong. Possibly Gomez or Kwanzaa goes in there. Robertson, I'd say there's a good chance Robertson gets a start against Burnley. Right back, don't know. Not sure what will happen there. So, no. I mean, if you're asking, should you go back to Trent, Alex? No. And do you prefer Jota or a KDB? Lots of pros and cons each. As you say, I prefer KDB just because of the way my team is built. I think if you are tight on budget and you just want to go from someone like Bowen or some other player around that price, then I think the one for you is probably Jota. But everything here is minutes expectations, and that's the thing to keep an eye on. And I think the final point I'd make is very much a person who is at the right time in favour of making early transfers. This is not the week to make early transfers. We've got the cup games. We're waiting for double game week announcements that might arrive relating to Luton and Bournemouth, and they impact relevant players such as Solanke, Doughty, Kaminski in my case. So wait there. And also, we should get the Manchester City usual slightly obfuscated nonsense before the deadline. So I think this is a wait till the deadline. Hope the FPL servers don't crash and make your transfers then. So I think that's it. Nothing more to say. Depending on how my time goes over the week, I might come back on Friday and do a 5 or 10 minute one. But until then, goodbye, and let's hope Haaland scores 18 points to match Watkins tonight. Good luck.